To Me with our host, Kelly Springer. Kelly, how are you? And I know you're excited about our guest today.
I am thrilled for our guest today. Thank you, Dr. Ann, for joining us. So today we're thrilled to have Dr. Ann, and she is a renowned physician, author, and advocate for personal empowerment, healthcare navigation, and women's leadership. With her extensive expertise in aging, nutrition, and women's leadership, she is great with communication, and she's empowering individuals and their families to take charge of their health and lives. Join us as we dive into her journey, insights, and practical tips for achieving personal growth and well being. So let's welcome Dr. Ann.
Thank you so very much for having me. Such an honor.
Thank you. So, cannot wait to dive in and learn about everything. So, first of all, where are you located?
I am in the frigid Metro DC area, so it's pretty outside with the snow all over the place.
Well, I love it. We're up in central New York, so we're even colder today.
Yes,
So we have the space heaters going, but we'll get warm with this conversation, I'm sure.
sounds good.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Kelly, with your first question.
So just wondering, how do you incorporate nutrition and leadership together?
Well, that is an excellent question. The American Medical Association put out a resolution, I think, in 2012, saying that physicians need to learn the tenets of lifestyle medicine and apply them. And the significance of that, lifestyle medicine is an emerging field of medicine that most people have not heard about. We now know that through decades of research, there are ways we can naturally prevent, treat, and reverse many diseases. So, though the AMA put out this resolution a long time ago, to date, a fraction of 1% of US physicians has a board certification in lifestyle medicine. I recently got that board certification. I'm very happy about that. But the leadership part is that we have to be able to teach people what we need them to do. We need them to understand by example. These are some things you can do differently. We now know that if you take two groups of women with breast cancer, take away the surgery and everything, two groups. One group will follow the tenets of lifestyle medicine. The other group does not. The group that follows these tenets is likely to live longer. Same cancer, less likely to have a recurrence and do better with the therapy. It's the same for men and prostate cancer. We even have information that can put diabetes into remission in many cases. Some people come off their insulin. So this emerging field of lifestyle medicine is a huge game changer. We were trained, this is the disease, this is the drug or surgery. That's how American physicians have been trained. But when you look at the totality, you look at all the research, 4 or 5 visits to the doctor or for health or for lifestyle related conditions. So that lets you know the potential that we have to turn things around. We're going in the wrong direction. Our kids have a lower life expectancy than we do. So that should be an example of the choices that we're making and the potential to turn it around. And it needs to start with people who have learned these concepts, who put them in place, and who can express them, explain them in bite-sized chunks so people can pick up the ball and run with it and completely transform the health trajectory.
It's so important. And Kelly, we've had this conversation on the podcast so far about that and how you work with physicians and really build that partnership, especially trying to partner with as many lifestyle medicine doctors, right, Kelly, and the whole transformation as a dietitian.
Well, the fact that just in these first 7 minutes of the podcast, we are able to see, I'm able to learn from you that you get it, right? So, as registered dietitians, we've been trying to get our message out for years. And I actually was just on a sales call right before this, and I said, some of these calls that we've had have taken 12 years for people to finally get it, right? So, everything you said makes sense to me and hopefully makes sense to everyone that's learning from this podcast today. So I love the fact that you're integrating nutrition, and I don't know how or why it really truly went missed. It just was like we're not going to talk about the basics of how we got to those disease states. So do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, I'm biased. In medical school, I think we had 2 credit hours of nutrition. You didn't learn much more than you would have learned in high school. You know, these are vitamins, these are minerals. We have been raised in a society, and I'm opinionated, so excuse me. So we have corporations that use food scientists to create just the right blend of fat, sugar, and salt that hit the pleasure centers of the brain, the same ones that are stimulated by sex and opiates. So people take more and more in. They get sicker and sicker, they get bigger, they have clogged arteries and so forth. Here comes Big Pharma. We have drugs that can help you. And so it's just this ongoing cycle. You have companies that are creating these hyper palatable foods that is hard to resist and literally get rewiring, you know, a part of the brain. I went more and more and more. And then you have a multi-billion-dollar industry that comes in. Okay, so you have disease A, B, C, D, and E. So let me help you for $600 a month for the pills. And by the way, insurance doesn't cover it. It's horrible where we've gotten, but that's where we are today. And the fact that our health is getting worse and our kids are less likely to live as long as we, and there is the exodus of physicians and nurses out of the field, that's going to leave this huge vacuum. I mean, it's time to wake up. We can't continue to do the things that we're doing and expect a better outcome. We do not have to succumb to this indoctrination. We do not have to accept that. So people, they need to make conscious decisions with appropriate knowledge about what they can do differently. You don't have to go to medical school. You don't have to be a dietitian. You just need some basic information. These are the things that you can learn in grade school, but we have not been taught them. We've not done a good job educating the public or even educating healthcare providers. The issue has been, this is the physiology, the pathophysiology of the disease, and this is how we fix it. Not, this is what we can do to prevent you from getting it in the first place, or if you get it, make it less severe so you don't need as much medication, fewer side effects, fewer trips to the ER because of the side effects of medicine. It's mind-boggling.
And when you talk about,
I can talk about this
no,
forever.
absolutely. When you talk about prevention, that's not the conversation, Kelly, that hopefully we get more doctors like
Yes.
Dr. Hester out there that literally, guess what? This is how it is. We are here to help you, guide you, right, Kelly, to getting healthier, not just Band-Aid or we'll wait on this. Let's see in 6 months. That's a lot of times those conversations before. Oh, we'll put you on this, but we're not going to give you any ideas except a printout, but we're not looking at your results. We're going to the next 6 months. Okay. So you're still here instead of where we need to be, Kelly, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Doctor, will you take us through, say someone comes to you and they say, is diagnosed with whatever chronic disease, what's the path you take them through?
Okay. So I no longer practice medicine. I am a health coach and I do educational programs. I have patientworld.net as a platform for on-demand health and wellness courses. But the bottom line is I would go with the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine. So a whole food, plant predominant diet that changes everything. It changes your gut microbiome that we call the second brain. I went to medical school decades ago, and they even told us back then the gut is the second brain, but they didn't fully appreciate it back then. And I would also address the other issues. Exercise is huge. You know, even if you run a few miles a week, if you sit on your tushy watching TV and these binges, just sitting down for long periods of time, it still increases your risk of dying early. So a lot of people don't realize that even though most people don't, but even if they do follow the national guidelines for exercise, those binges of TV, sitting down at the desk for a long time, not getting up, that also increases your risk. So the diet is huge. Exercise is huge. Social connections, that is dramatic. Everybody has heard, well, if you have a dog, you're less likely to die as early than if you don't. If you have a wife or a husband, you're going to live longer. There's just something about that connectedness that literally impacts your life. Avoiding toxic substances. I read a while back that women who work at home are more likely to die early of cancer and other things than women who don't. And that is because of all of these toxic fumes in the household cleaners and all of these things that accumulate in the home. But people don't realize that everything that they have, everything that they purchase, could have some chemicals in it. I like green stuff. I like EWG, the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. You could even get an app. I was on that app today, and I would just put it up to the barcode on some products. Cancer trashed it. We have so much technology and so much power to do a lot of things. So some people think, well, I avoid alcohol and tobacco, I'm good. No. The things you put on your hair, the lotions, the toothpaste, all of those things
are dangerous. Yeah.
Exactly. Those things are significant. So those would be some of the things that, I would talk about. Stress reduction. Stress is a killer. Sleeping, it is like a badge of honor. Okay. I remember one time in medical school, I worked 72 hours. I'm like, yeah, I did. I worked 72 hours. You do that craziness, you die early. So what did you accomplish? We need to get away from your superwoman or your superman if you work on 2 or 3 hours of sleep.
It's crazy.
Exactly. The body, the physiology, none of that is set up for that. And so when we accept that, this crazy hamster wheel that we're on, we're saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I may get jobs, promotions, and so forth. I don't mind dying early. I don't mind getting these diseases I never had to get if I had followed these. So my approach, Kelly, would be throwing out those 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and coaching them on ways that they can not only adopt them, but overcome the obstacles that they have and just provide that support so that these things just become human nature. Even my teenagers, they now know we're going to the store to pick up something. Oh, mom, this has chemicals in it. We have to adopt that mindset, and we have to teach our children, because to say, okay, our kids are going to die earlier than we are, that's not okay. So what are we going to do about it? And how are the kids going to fare if we don't do something to kind of block that now?
That's fantastic. So how long ago did you start doing this?
Well, I just did my lifestyle medicine certification last year, but the year before then is when I really started getting into all of these things. Actually, I started it because patientworld.net, which was the first thing I did. I did a lot of on-demand courses. I recorded people in different fields so that they could educate people about a variety of things. And there's this doctor, Dr. Marshall Seidelman, I'm connected to on LinkedIn. And she was a lifestyle medicine doctor. I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And so Dr. Seidelman did a course, and I just sat there as I recorded it with my mouth open, like, really? I've been practicing for decades. Why don't they teach us these things? And that's when I got into lifestyle medicine. I learned more and more about it. And then I'm like, I can't go back to the world that I had before.
Oh, yeah.
And then I just did the training, and I did my board certification last month, and we've already gotten the results back. So I've just pronounced so many people dead. I have watched people suffer and die needlessly for decades. I'm at a different stage now. I don't want to just give my all to help you decrease your risk of getting an amputation or going blindness by adjusting the medicine. I want to help you prevent the diabetes. I want to help you prevent the cancer and the heart attack. And it doesn't cost anything. Knowledge gets results.
That I completely agree with you. And do you think that more medical doctors will get on board, or how long?
I do. I do, because during this last round of lifestyle medicine, the people who went to the annual conference, I mean, there are a ton of people who are physically there and people around the country, because doctors are starting to wake up. You know, we can't continue this. We spend more for healthcare than any rich nation, and we have the worst outcomes.
Yep.
The Commonwealth Fund did a research study, and America is at the bottom for outcomes, and we're at the top for money. That balance is just not there. And so, and the American Medical Association, I think it was 2012, they put out the initial resolution that doctors need to learn the tenets of lifestyle medicine and apply them. Here we are 13 years from now, so people are trickling in, but I think more and more people are realizing this is not working.
Right.
Why are we giving drugs when we could prevent it in the first place?
Now, I'm going to jump in this, Kelly, when I started thinking about this, and then I'll let you have a question, just because I've been, I work with a lot of doctors and people in the health industry, and I'm learning more and more every day. How come you feel that there is a place for lifestyle medicine doctors practicing traditional medicine, correct?
Mm-hmm.
There is still a spot for people. It just depends if you're in your own practice, right? Where you have a little bit more control than working for somebody else, correct? Okay. All right. Let's go, Kelly, to the next question.
So I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I'm excited to see where we go. So we are connected with the majority of my company. It actually gets referrals from medical doctors, and it's taken 2 decades to really let them understand of the outcomes that we have and how we proceed. So it's been a great growing relationship, but I feel for the first time that they get it. They finally get what a registered dietitian does and how we can have more hours with the client too. So I'll say to the physician, do you have 12 hours to give to this person to educate them on nutrition? Right. So I'm like, we do. So send them over to us. We will take 12 hours of time to educate them. Like I love that you said in bite-sized increments, because I think that is also the key of giving little bits of information throughout at least a 3-month period, so that people can take that information back, understand what they're supposed to be doing, and put that forward in your life. So do you agree with that?
You make an excellent point. Doctors don't have the time. And honestly, most doctors don't have the training. So even though I did all this training in lifestyle medicine, I don't have the same training that you did. And so it's okay. I am an internist. I've been a board certified internist for decades. But if, you come to me, your kid's sick, when I practice, I was the first to say, I don't do kids. I don't have that training. Or you're pregnant, and like, you need to see your OBGYN. I mean, there are different people with different specialties, and we need to respect that we have different levels of expertise. It's okay that you don't know everything. If you try to say, well, I can do it all, you're fooling yourself, and you're doing your patients a grave disservice.
I agree with you. So I gotta say, even in the registered dietitian world, we can't know everything about everything. And so our company is big on specialties, so that you can have a few, but you can't have 30. So, you can't have GI and pediatrics and this, and it's just too vast. And so we really try to, our dietitians that come on with us, we're like, you need to choose, 2 of your specialties. Is it going to be weight loss, diabetes, or was it going to be, because I do think that a lot of times dietitians put out their single shingle and they feel like they can take everyone. And that might not be the best situation. So
and if you become an expert in one thing, you can completely transform lives. But if you're a Jacqueline of all trades, then you kind of touch the surface on a lot of things. So just like medicine, it's the same in your field. The more you know about specific things, the more impact you're going to have on individual lives.
Where do you see lifestyle medicine going in the next 10 years?
I see lifestyle medicine going to a point that physicians are going to want to take the training because they are going to be reimbursed for their time and their expertise. Right now, a doctor is not going to spend 45 minutes on each visit going over the tenets of lifestyle medicine because they're not going to be reimbursed. Mrs. Jones in the next room may be having chest pain. The person across the hall may be having, be doubled over in abdominal pain. That's not how it's set up now. So acute care visits are not going to really be able to provide the amount of time because at any moment you're in your doctor's office, the hospital could call, the person in the next room is sick, and the doctor has to go. That's just, the nature of the beast. But I think as we move forward, there are going to be more shared medical appointments. Health coaches are going to take another level as far as working in the healthcare field, helping doctors, helping patients, because the doctor can give an overview of something. But if you have a health coach who can spend an hour a week with you for the next, 6, 12 weeks, learning about you, motivating you, doctors aren't going to really have the time, to try to overcome those obstacles, those barriers, and just kind of take your hand and go every step of the way and follow up. So I think that it's going to be very important for people to have their different niches. You can be an expert in this, this, and this, and certainly you can have more than one. A lot of us have more than one board certification, so we can do more than one thing. But we have to respect the fact that different people have different levels of expertise, and if we work together as a healthcare system, then we're going to do so much better, so much more with the patient.
Kelly, that's amazing what she does, right?
Yeah.
Especially with physicians that are taking the time now to be in this, and then her being a health coach and really learning some of those pillars that you understand, Kelly. But at the end of the day, add that with her expertise in medicine, put those things together. That's going to be the best type of situation, especially in specific areas.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on and sharing your
And my
expertise
pleasure.
today and your inspiration to the medical field. And we're just thrilled that you were with us to educate.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're
Best
welcome.
place we can find info on you. Where can we go?
Well, patientworld.net is my main website. I have a site, busywomanhealthcoach.com. I coach men and women, but that's particularly for women. And I'm on LinkedIn. Dr. Ann Hester, MD. I'm on LinkedIn. So certainly you can connect with me there.
All right. Thank you again, Dr. Ann. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That was a special simulcast of the Neil Haley Show. And